Hello, so let's try to look at some more statistics from Algebra 2 and Trigonometry class. Alright, so in order for us to do this one, what I'm going to do is this. I'll be using this chart, normal curve standard deviation distribution. The bottom one is the z-score, and these are the percentages. And we'll see what happens. Alright, so first, 34% of the data of the normal distribution lies between the mean and the one standard deviation above the mean. Alright, now what does that mean? It simply means we are looking at this section from here to here. That means we are looking at this box and this box together. Obviously, when you add up 19.1 and 15, it becomes 34.1%. So when you approximate it, we'll end up getting something that was described over here. So now the question is this. Does 17%, which is half of that, of the data lie between mean and 1/2 standard deviation above the mean? In fact, the answer is no. It is in fact 19.1% is between the mean x bar and, if I have to go back to it, and 0.5. So it's going to be mean and x bar plus 0.5 standard deviation. Okay, now that's basically what we are looking at. Let's try to look into the next part of the question. For the normal distribution, determine what percent of the data values are given each given range. Between 1 standard deviation below the mean and 2 standard deviation above the mean. Now, so 1 standard deviation below the mean is right over here, and 2 standard deviation above the mean will be way over there. So all we have to do is add up all these values. Now, so then when you add up from here to here, it becomes 68.2% plus these two. So let's try to look into that. So it will be 68.2% plus 9 I believe it was 9.2 plus 4.4. That becomes our answer. So once you combine them together, it will be 0.8, and then it will be 13 and 68. So it's going to be 81.8%. All right, above 1 standard deviation and below the mean. Now, above one standard deviation. In this case, above 1 standard deviation, okay, so if you have to try to understand this one correctly, from here, above 1 standard deviation, then we are looking at this portion and below the mean. So then wording is somewhat interesting. Then if I were to assume that if this is the section that which we are looking at, it will be everything but 34.1%. So in this case, it will be 100 minus 34.1%, which will be equal to 65.9%. That becomes our answer. Above the mean. Above the mean is simply when you look through this picture, from the mean, everything above that. In fact, due to symmetry, this will be simply equal to 50%. Alright, let's look into the next question. A set of data is normally distributed with mean of 40 and standard deviation is 5. Find the data values, that is 1 standard deviation above the mean. Now, What does that mean? The data value is simply, in this case, 40 plus 1 standard deviation, which is simply 5. So in fact, we are looking at 45 will be the answer. Now, 2.4 standard deviation above the mean, that means 40 plus 2.4 times 5. That simply is equal to 40 plus 12, which is equal to 52. Now, one standard deviation below the mean, it will be 40 minus 5 becomes 35. The last 40 minus 2.4 times 5, which will be equal to 28. That becomes our answer. Alright, let's try to look into this one. The score of the tests are normally distributed. If the mean is 50 and the standard deviation is 8, then the students who scored 38 has a z-score of in order for you to find the z-score, all you have to do is the x-bar, which is the mean, minus the particular value over standard deviation. Now, then what are we looking at here? Oh, in fact, it should be the other way around. The value minus the standard deviation. So we have the value is 38 minus 50 divided by 8. Here we end up getting negative 12 over 8. That means negative 1.5. So therefore, this becomes our answer. Alright, number 14. The height of 200 women are normally distributed. The mean was 170 and standard deviation was 10 centimeters. The number of the women in this group who are between 160 to 170 tall. So in fact, 160 to 170 tall is this 170 of the z-score. This is the height. This is z-score. Is simply equal to 0. Mean itself has a z-score of 0. And how about 160? 160, in fact, z-score will be 160 minus 170 divided by 10, which will be, in fact, equal to negative 1. That means we are looking at the number of people from negative 1 through 0. If you have to go with this normal curve, I'm going to try to erase what was here before. Then one thing that which we are looking at is from 0 through negative 1, right over here. Then we are looking at about 34.1% of the people. So this will be 34.1% of the people are in this section. But this is out of 200 people, so we have to look at 34.1 times 200. That must be equal to 60%, 68.2 people. So it's about 68 people. So they will be our final answer. Alright, that's it. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.